Today's video, I'm going to show you guys how to tie a generic midge. There's pupae, there's zebra midge, there's emergers, there's all these different patterns. So I'm going to show you guys a generic version, and you can take it from there. Good growing step. Tie these. The one that's in my vise right now is a size 16, and it has a 16th tungsten bead on it. Tie them from a 16. I'll even tie some a little bit bigger, but tie them from a 16 down to like a size 24. Now, when you tie these little hooks, use a magnet tray like I showed you guys in the other video to hold your hooks, because if you drop this, the only way you're going to find that hook is if you walk around barefoot. Trust me, I learned this the hard way. So, the very first thing we're going to do is we got our hook in the vise, 16, size 16 midge hook, got a 16th tungsten bead. Now, you can use craft glass beads, the smaller ones that you get at a craft store or fly shop. You can use tungsten, you can use brass. All shapes and variations of this fly work. I've got some size 6/0 thread. I'm going to use a smaller thread on these just because I like a smaller tapered body. I've caught a lot of insects in the water, and they're very unlike Americans. Most of them aren't overweight, so I try to use a smaller thread to where I can get a small thread wrap. So when I tie my base, I'm going to go over and I'm going to take my thread down almost to the bend of the hook. Just, part way. Now, each time you tie, you'll go to the back and then you'll go forward. And when you go to the back, you don't go back as far to where you can taper that up towards the head of the fly. So once I have my first wrap in, I'm going to take a piece of copper wire, and I use an ultra fine copper wire. Again, you can use any fine wire on these things, and I encourage you to do so. Tie them with copper wire, tie them with gold wire, tie them with silver wire. You can make tinsel bodies. The more variations you have in your box, the more things you can throw at trout. So if they're getting picky and they're not wanting to feed on something, then you can throw something else at them. Okay, so I have my wire tied in. So now I'm going to start taking and building my body. So I'm going to go from my bead backwards. And each time I come forward, I'm not going to go quite as far backward the next time. Okay, once I get that done, I've brought my thread up to my bead. I'm going to take my copper wire and I'm going to wrap segments of a body around this fly. Now, I am going to space this one out to where the segments are somewhat even. It's not that important. But you can also tie a midge with just wire, where it's just a wire body wrap. And if you do that, they work just fine too. I've got several of them that have no thread other than to hold my wire on. So you can make a solid metal wrapped body, or you can do it just like I did. Now you can take and cut this with your scissors, or you can take your thumbnail and hold it down on that wire and just kind of helicopter it. And I like doing it that way. It's a little bit slower, but it breaks it right off where it's out of the way. Okay, so now that would work. That is one pattern of a midge that you can tie. You could whip finish that off right now and be done and have a pattern, and I encourage you to make some like that. But also make some like this, because this will give it a little bit of a base where it looks like it's popping out. Or some different insects have gills. It'll just kind of one more variation in case they're not hitting on what you have. So what I'm going to do when I get to this point, I'm going to tie my peacock curl in, and I'm going to go just a little bit more than what the size of that bead is and tie that in. Now, peacock curl can be a pretty delicate stuff if it's been sitting for a while. So something you can do is you can take it and soak it in a cup full of warm water with hair conditioner in it, and that will revive that. So if you have some that's getting old and brittle, just do some hair conditioning treatment to it, and it will bring it back to life after you let it dry out. So once I have that tied in and I've built up my little base, I'm going to cut that off. Once I cut that piece off, I'm ready to whip finish, and that is a pretty simple version. Now when you tie this, tie it with some blacks, some gray, some some olive colors. Just go to the water and look what they are. Black is always going to work. Black and dark gray is always going to work. But tie this thing in different colors. Tie it with different colors of wire. Tie it with more wire and with less wire. Tie it with different colored bead heads. Some with peacock, some without, and mix it all up. Keep you a box with several of them, and if they're not hitting on one, you'll be amazed how just changing up just a tad bit and throwing it to them the next time will fix it for you guys. This is a very basic midge setup. There's a million out there. Go out there and research them, and I'll start tying a few here and there to show you. But this is the basis of what you need to do, and if you have some of these in your box and you tie them as a dropper fly underneath, the fish will hit these when nothing else will work. So good luck to you guys. I hope this helps, and we will see you in the next video.